is because they keep talking primarily about civil servants, civil servants, civil servants. The entirety of the country is reeling under the instantaneous effect of that announcement that made fuel prices shoot up. So while civil servants, of course, need to be addressed in overall society. And the second thing is that by, providence, this administration is a direct continuation of the past. Of course, all government is a continuum, so it didn't matter who won, you are in government. But there were plans apparently put in place. The former minister for, was it special duties, Clement Agba, was supposed to have formulated plans to take care of this subsidy when it was removed. He had over 18 months to do it. How come it seems like right now we're scrambling to decide and arrive on what to do? Why do we seem so unprepared? These are the things that agitate my mind. And you say you're going to remove a policy. By and large, when explained to most people, we understand the massive waste and fraud that was fraught in the subsidy regime. That is hardly the discussion. But I'm amazed at how we're scrambling around like cockroaches exposed from underneath a stone, wondering what to do. The country is reeling. People are having difficulties. They cannot eat, they cannot get to work. There's so much that has changed temporarily in the negative. We need to know that people who have a clue are in charge. Right now, it's not looking so good that they're just trying to decide what to do. They had months, over a year, to come up with concrete plans that should have been deployed, because I remember that transition documents were handed over to this administration. It wasn't like a sudden thing where they didn't know who was coming in. The person was given transitional documents, and they were at least nominally close to the government all this time before now.
Well, I would like to make a comment on this, and I actually think that my concern is on the sub-national level, where the state governors, by virtue of what has happened, are now going to be receiving quite a lot of more money from the federation account. By just removing subsidy, it means that it translates to more money to be shared to states and local governments. So at the subnational level, I would expect that even the little effort being made at the national level is being taken into consideration. And I want to believe that, well, the beginnings of removal of subsidies, we are yet to see all of them. That positively, the economy will benefit. We're already seeing Nigerians getting to reflect on alternative sources of energy. This wasn't there before. There's been lifestyle changes. People want to, in some states in Maiduguri, people riding bicycles to work and all that. So the benefits are very, very wide. And if we are looking at it, we will not see all of it, immediately. And I think that positive things will come, even in spite of what the government is doing. It may not seem much, but eventually the economy will benefit from this ripple effect of this decision. And we're yet to see all of that.
All right, thank you, Joseph, for that. Let's move on to Punch. The NHRC, which the National Human Rights Commission, warned purveyors of hate speech to rethink their actions or risk turning Nigeria into a situation similar to what has been experienced in countries like Rwanda and Bosnia, as some of the conduct is not seen as nationalistic. Joseph?
Yeah, it's good. It's good a thing to do if that will create some deterrence, because we've seen our social media platforms and channels are awash with very hot comments from people that incite people into hate, ethnic hate. I know the chief purveyor of hate speech, as far as I'm concerned, the trophy goes to El-Rufai with the recent comment he made that suggested that they proudly and gladly could subjugate other people, people of other religion and that it doesn't matter as long as their needs are taken care of. So as long as their needs are taken care of, they don't have any complaint if they don't get to have leadership. So such kind of comments from leaders and from followers are just very acidic, and they just rile up the system and cause tension all over the place. So if the National Human Rights Commission is really serious about keeping a register, what happens with the register eventually? What do you do when you put somebody's name on a register? So what? Blacklist, oh, black book, enter the black, so what? So what? Are we going to try them? Or what? So some of these things we just say, oh yeah, we're going to create a register. What after? So what happens to that person? What's the consequence? Is it going to suffer something? Is it going to prevent it? Is it going to be used in such a way that it cannot hold public office or whatever? What is the effect that my name entered the register? So those are the kind of things would have expect to hear. The consequences, what will happen, so people well, of course they want to forget the past, the recent past, 2023 election and all the hatred that came from it. We thought they would have started the register from there. Then we will know that in earnest, they actually want to set a tone and send a message to people who are purveyors of hate speech. But well, let us watch and see. Maybe they have not disclosed all what the strategy of this is all about, because it doesn't make any sense. You have a register, yes, so what?
Maybe do you want to add?
That was my question. The so what? Because I felt, is it that these people are just idle, they have nothing to do, so they're trying to seem that they're busy? When you do the register, will it prevent people from getting wages? Will it prevent them from getting employment? Will it cost them their jobs? Will it mean that they can't apply for visas to travel elsewhere? If there's no consequence attached to a register, it becomes a stack of paper disturbing the world's ecosystem, because we've cut down a few more trees to waste in a wardrobe somewhere.
All right, thank you, Amy. Let's go on to this article that comes from Vanguard. Japa syndrome, reps reject a motion to stop emigration. Amy?
The only part of this that I liked was that the new reps roundly rejected the proposal. I'm very interested in knowing, okay, the person, Philip Agbese or so, noted that there's a lot of mass relocation of young people abroad. I just don't understand how out of touch some groups of people are. The people who are sitting in that National Assembly typically, as I said before, are never seen jackpying, and they never look in the mirror and wonder why they seem so happy to be here. And literally everybody else doesn't want to be here. Self-awareness should ask you, what is it I may be experiencing or enjoying that I am preventing others from enjoying, that makes them not as enthused about Nigeria as me? Rather, somebody had the boneheaded idea of passing a law to prevent people from traveling if and where they can. I repeat, it's a boneheaded idea. And it's a pity that it will come from somebody who actually apparently won an election in one part of Nigeria or the other. The economy is the reason why people travel, a primary reason. Security is another reason. A way of life that they would aspire to is another reason. All, I should add, of which could exist in droves and spades in Nigeria if those in rulership, because they haven't led us anywhere, would make conditions in Nigeria better. So to think that the knee-jerk reaction was, for the third time, this boneheaded suggestion that they should make a law to ban Nigerians from being able to travel is breathtaking in its ridiculousness, for lack of a better word. People can and will travel for other reasons, for experience, life experience, for business, for pleasure, for tourism, and for relocation. Rather than trying to place a ban, which is one of the most backward ideas that has ever existed, no matter where you look at it, create the conditions that make your country competitive. And people will say, even if I were to travel, I'd go for the chance to see and live a different life, but I'd always hanker to come back. Don't just get up and say, oh, my head is pretty empty. What should I say with my mouth? Remove my foot from my mouth and let something come out, and it now sounds ridiculous to hearing of anybody who has a modicum of good sense.
All right, let's go on to WhatsApp. We have a few messages coming through. Izehi says, why do they think people are running away from the country? There can't be confidence in a system that rewards criminality with positions of power and influence, even after seeing unassailable proof of said criminality. And this one is from Victor. Victor says, even wealthy countries like Australia, US, Switzerland, and Germany will never consider a ban on citizens moving or traveling. All right, keep the messages coming. The WhatsApp number is 0809 444 0981, and you can also tweet at smooth981. This is Freshly Pressed. Stay with us. Excuse me.
Sorry,
Zibby.
I hope you have some relief there. You can take.
Yeah, I'm just going to go out to have a quick sip of coffee.
Okay. Joseph has started already. Joseph is taking your therapy for you.
Unfortunately, the coffee is gone cold, so I'm not really enjoying it anymore.
This whole thing where somebody says, I'll ban this, I'll ban that. It's so backward. It's so unfortunate.
I think the problem is that the lawmakers want to shine and they are eager to make a mark. And so somebody just woke up and felt, oh, okay, what's the most topical issue? Japa, okay.
That's enough.
It's so silly. I mean,
let me talk. Let them hear my voice on Japa.
Yeah, let me say something. Let me just be picking.
Up on the trend.
Up on the trend. Thank you.
Just call something quickly.
I'm earning 45 million naira a month. I want to trend.
All right, we're going back on. You're listening to Freshly Pressed on Smooth 98.1. Our analysts are in, Abi Bozimo and Joseph Obari. Let us know what your thoughts are. The WhatsApp number is 0809 444 0981. We're streaming live on YouTube, so you can catch the live stream. Just search for Smooth 981 FM Lagos and post a comment on there as well. From Vanguard, leaders and residents of Ijagba community in Ondo State have urged security agencies to tackle persistent cases of attacks and kidnappings on the communities by unidentified bandits. Joseph?
You know, we hear this ever so often. So, I mean, I don't know where actually anybody feels safe in Nigeria. Even those who are not being kidnapped immediately don't feel safe. That is the state of Nigeria right now. So we hear this call from this community today. What's the response? What's going to happen? In fact, in Abuja here, communities on the fringe complain. Most of them are not even reported. A lot of the cases of people being adopted and kidnapped and forced to pay ransom and all that, a lot of it they go on unreported. So this has made the news, yeah. So what's going to happen? Even those who are crying out, go to Nasarawa State, the same story. So where? I mean, we're waiting. We can't wait for this new administration to show us what their strategy is, because the past 8 years was just as far as I'm concerned, security is concerned, it was a woeful failure. Even though the administration kept awarding itself pass mark of having done a lot in securing Nigeria. But does the average Nigeria really feel secure? You can't wake up now and say, I want to travel from here to Lagos and drive my car. Those days are gone, where Nigerians take leisure to drive through cities, stop, sleep over, or whatever, and do whatever. You can't even think it. Your child is traveling by road from one town or city to the other. Your heart is in your mouth because you're not sure what's going to happen. That is how unsafe we are in this country. So I don't know what I'm supposed to say, because it's just so commonplace that insecurity is so commonplace that when one person cries out, we are like, well, hello, all of us are in it. We're in this boat. It's just that it's not got to my turn, because no security agency response. Yeah, it's so bad. Nigeria is under police. Let's know that. I mean, that is for sure. We are under policed by whatever world standard. We one policeman to how many persons? We are under policed. We barely have 500,000 police people. We are not even up to that. So now you can't begin to pull soldiers everywhere. They'll be stretched. And that's the problem. So we're waiting for the strategy. And that's where actually my comment should go to, that we're waiting for the security strategy of this new administration. This new special advisor on security, New Ribadu, has been appointed. Let us see what his changes will be and what the effect will be on us.
What was sad in this story is the seemingly repeated attacks. They would come, they'd make threats, they'd come again, and they'd seem to have no resistance. As much as we cannot have police everywhere, you'd expect after a while to see some proactivity. The report doesn't really show much proactivity. I refuse to believe that our gallant policemen, when well equipped and prepared, cannot fight any kind of crime. So we need to focus on preparing tools, maybe technological tools and communication tools to help people in distress. What is Nigeria's emergency number, and does it work? And I think it would be a law for me to try the 112, because I'd be plugging up a line if it were potentially working. This should become something known by everybody, and it should be something that works to help people in distress, really.
That is accurate. That is accurate. Let's go on to Daily Trust. The federal government is calling on state governors to help take up the responsibilities of fighting fire in their respective states. Now, the newly appointed permanent secretary of the Ministry of Interior, Dr. Oluwatoyin Akinlade, stated this after making an official visit to the headquarters of the Federal Fire Service.
Now, fire has destroyed so many people's livelihoods and lives, and in fact, changed the trajectory of entire civilizations. One of the greatest fires in the past, the London fire, changed the way planning is done. So we're talking about adding fire vehicles and all that. And we had, some brand spanking new fire vehicles that were added to the aircraft, at 1.2 billion per fire vehicle. At least they poured water over the newly painted Nigeria airplane the other day. So that's kudos to Nigeria. But here's the thing. Fire needs fuel. And one of the first ways to help fight fire is in our planning. Can fire engines actually access some of the places where fires take place? In many cases, people on foot can hardly even get there. 2, when a fire starts, how is the alarm or alert raised? 3, do we have, standby things like hydrants and those things you hold in your hand, fire extinguishers? There has to be a culture where fire is seen for what it is, a major risk factor, and all the planning in the areas of the buildings, escape routes, because some of the deaths happen because escape routes are blocked. You have a building that has an escape route that has a padlock and chain on it. How do you expect people to escape in the event of disaster? The entire journey. As an architect, I am extremely conscious of fire, its effect, the need to protect people's lives in the event of fire. And we always apply that when we plan, even how buildings are spaced. You need a certain minimum distance between 2 buildings to ensure that if a fire happens to break out, the tongues and the fire cannot jump across from the gap. So there are lots of things that can help when a fire starts, but you also have to prevent. The materials you choose in the building, the way in which you lay it out and plan, you can help slow the spread of fire. Then, of course, you now need the fire service and individuals around to safely tackle it. Yes, we're hearing that the fire service the federal is asking the state to do it. Yes, because everybody lived in a state somewhere. So there's no reason why the states and local governments should not be involved. In Marietta local government, where I lived for some time in Georgia, there were at least 17 fire stations. In that is a county, but that's the equivalent of a local government. I don't know whether we have 17 fire stations across Nigeria. Of course, we'll have at least 36. But I'm saying in a single local government, that emphasis on fire was there. What stops? We talk about unemployment. You have volunteer fire people. We should create the facilities. That's where all these huge monies we hear about, 702 billion going to states. Let's put it in assorted infrastructure and facilities, and you will have the knock-on effect of creating additional employment and preserving people's lives in terms of fire. There's so much to be gained by focusing on this sector: fire prevention, detection, and fighting. So fighting is the last part. Let's start by preventing it in our planning, preventing it in our construction and layout, and then in the event that fires do happen to break out, because accidents happen, we can now fight them more efficiently and effectively and lead to less loss of lives and property.
You know, that contributed to this. Let me share a story. Where I worked before, in Shell. Shell was donating fire engines to governments in the states and around where it operated. From time to time, they do that. And then, in fact, if you live in Port Harcourt, you know that when fires break out, it's actually the oil companies that the firefighters that respond most of
Fires,
the time.
Emergencies, any disaster.
So now it does happen that these journalists went to, they went for a briefing with the commissioner who is in charge of fire and all that, special duties and in charge of fire. And then he was lamenting that they wrote to this particular, our company then, for support in supplying fire engines, and the company did not respond and all that. And the journalist, being managing media, came to an event to us, and he was now asking us why we didn't support the government to buy fire engine. And I was shocked, because and that's one important thing about the role of the media. I asked the journalist, and you sat down there, and a commissioner whose duty is to provide this very service complained to you that oil company didn't respond to his request. Did he tell you of the previous assistance they've got? And then even if they don't get this time around, what happened to his budget? Did you ask him? And the journalist looks stupid, because that's exactly what it should, because you can't have a government, and they're talking about states, just as B said, local governments don't have not one fire engine. Not one fire engine. In 774 local governments, you will hardly see one fire station in a whole local government. How can we continue like this? How? What does it cost to buy one fire engine at least that can
1.2 billion naira. 1.2 billion naira.
Let's not go there.
Let's not go there. But here's the thing, just on it, the sheer cheek and entitlement that somebody would think that somebody who is in business privately and chooses to assist now becomes the person who owes the populace service. It's the chutzpah is breathtaking. These people completely shirk their responsibilities and want to put them somewhere else, but they don't shirk their salaries. Let's go on, Joe.
Conrad says emergency numbers should be rejigged and personnel motivated and retrained to handle critical cases with required expertise. CCTV procurement and installation should be concluded, probes should be concluded, and those culpable prosecuted. Light Up Lagos project should be sustained. And let's see, Obi says, what is the job of the guys in government? Because as far as I'm concerned, they don't do much for citizens and are still not doing anything. It just seems to always be a continuous recycling. Tajuddin says the rep or senator is not very smart, and this is with regards to
Japa.
Japa, thank you. How on earth could anyone prevent others from traveling? Didn't he travel from his end to come to Abuja and present this rather empty idea? Okay, let's move on to the next story. This comes from Punch. International organization Global Fund says it's approved about $1 billion to assist Nigeria in the fight against tuberculosis, malaria, and HIV.
Yeah, this is one part of activity that actually falls under the radar, because most people don't know the tons of money that come into government from agencies. And most of the time, the money just disappears into some vortex. It just disappears. Nobody is accountable.
Vortex, at least.
Yeah, it just goes into a black hole.
It's no more rats and snakes, now a vortex. I like that. Upgrade.
So it just disappears. So we are talking about malaria, which is, it's endemic to us here. And almost every Nigerian has learned to live with the malaria. Tuberculosis is made a resurgence in becoming, because there's serious cases of resistance to drugs that have been used for treating tuberculosis. Now we're talking about huge amount of money from one source alone to Nigeria. And the health system doesn't feel the impact. Why? Why is it that those kind of, you just look at, they say they prioritize Nigeria. In the story, they say they prioritize Nigeria. And they are one of the 110
the world's #1 recipients.
Yes, of these donors. So what is wrong with us? What is really wrong with us? We should see the impact in the health system somehow. But of course, we all know where it's going, and we want to see that there's a change. And this administration should set the tone for a change. Let us see that really people can benefit from all these things. A lot of funds comes in agriculture, in health, in education. There are funds that come in silently. They are not captured in the money budget.
And as we said, the ailments still go around the country and nobody's held accountable. We've seen this headline, 1 billion. Is it? Let me read that so that my eyes don't just...
$1 billion.
And nobody
for 3 years, spread over 3 years.
For it.
Yeah.
$1 billion. Yet,
that's
look around.
About 300 or so million every year for 3 years.
And with proper planning, 333.3333 billion every year, dollars.
Yeah.
And with proper planning, you can tackle the health issue itself, but the entire environment, because malaria, funny enough, is not just a matter of water. It's malaria, somebody pointed out, is a matter of engineering. If you have proper drains, you don't have water sitting around. Therefore, you reduce. So if you apply some of that money to planning our areas better, you are also helping tackle malaria. But without that kind of thinking, you find that people are just looking for how to cream off that money, not even cream off it, how to take the entire chunk and leave the cream on the ground.
All right, I'm going to read a last message. This is Tonye. He says, with all the market fires we've experienced year in, year out, how does every market not have a fire station resident inside the market premises? As AB says, it is breathtaking. At least every major market should have one. Well, that is all the time that we have for Freshly Pressed this morning. Thanks for listening. Thanks for your messages. As always, special thanks to our analysts for being amazing, as always. So thank you, Joseph, and thank you, AB, for coming through.
My pleasure, AB. Nice to be here always. Thank you, Lagos.
Joseph,
have a great weekend.
Lagos.
Yeah.
Thank you. And that is it for
Agree or
Freshly
disagree?
Pressed. Do stay
Agree or
with
disagree
us.
with me?
We'll step into the locker room in just about 15 minutes. Thank you and have a brilliant day.
Yeah.
Same to you.
President Zibby. All the best.
President Zibby. Get well soon. Get well soon.
Amen.